They called him Odogwu, the man every woman wanted but none could keep. He had everything: money that spoke for him, a face that stopped conversations, a body carved like God was showing off, and a confidence that made women rethink their relationships. In Enugu, he was a legend. Slay queens admired him, CEOs chased him. Daughters of senators practically auditioned to be his wife. But Odogwu, he said no to all of them. At 40 years old, the pressure became unbearable. His mother cried, his sister pleaded, even his pastor preached sermons targeted at him. But he kept repeating, "I will marry when my spirit decides." Then one day, he shocked the entire city. Without telling anyone, he packed his designer bags and drove straight to the village. People assumed he went for land issues or peace of mind. Until he returned with a wife. Not the classy, polished woman they expected, but a village girl who couldn't speak English, cooked with firewood inside his modern kitchen, and fought anyone who stared at her husband for too long. The whole city was confused. His family was embarrassed. Women who once called him my Odogwu now insulted him online. And everyone kept asking the same question. Why her?
They called him Odogwu, and in the entire city of Enugu, that name carried weight. It wasn't just a nickname, it was a title, a crown that every woman placed on his head the moment they set eyes on him. He was the kind of man mothers prayed their daughters would meet. He was the type of man fathers used as an example when advising their sons. He had money that spoke before he even opened his mouth. Rich, handsome, successful, confident, he had everything except a wife. At 40, Odogwu looked like a man who still had the world wrapped around his fingers. His jawline stayed sharp, his beard well-groomed, his clothes tailored like they were sewn directly onto his skin. His perfume, that one, if he passed by you, the scent would follow you home. People joked that his shadow alone could make a woman blush. He owned 3 thriving companies, real estate, logistics, and a fashion line that top celebrities endorsed. His mansion sat on a hill, glass walls glimmering under the sun like a diamond. Inside, every room screamed luxury, marble floors, chandeliers taller than some buildings, and a garage filled with cars that made even grown men cry small tears. But for all the blessings in his life, one question chased him everywhere. Odogwu, when will you marry? His aunties asked this question like it was their morning prayer. His uncles asked it like they were reading newspapers. Strangers even asked him online. His mother prayed daily, lighting candles and crying to God to soften his son's heart. Odogwu's younger sister, Nkiru, became the most frustrated. "Brother, please now," she would say, kneeling dramatically like a Nollywood actress. "Let us hear wedding bells. My mates are posting pregnancy photos and gender reviews. What will I post?" But Odogwu would simply smile, pat her head, and say, "God's time is still loading. Relax." Meanwhile, women refused to leave him alone. They flocked around him like pigeons around bread. And Odogwu, he dated many of them without stress. He dated high-class ladies who wore designer clothes and spoke through their noses. He dated middle-class ladies who cooked delicious meals and knew how to care for a man. He even dated daughters of senators whose fathers saluted him and offered to sponsor the wedding. But none of them moved him. Whenever a woman mentioned marriage, Odogwu disappeared faster than Wi-Fi in the village. Not because he hated marriage, but because something inside him kept saying, "Not yet, she's not the one." It became a city-wide mystery. People began spreading theories. He must have commitment issues. Maybe he's secretly married somewhere. Maybe he's not ready. Or maybe his standards are too high. Yet nobody truly knew him. Nobody understood the quiet, deep look in his eyes whenever marriage came up. At one point, his family grew tired. His mother even visited a prophetess who claimed someone was tying Odogwu spiritually. The woman prayed, sprinkled oil, shook bells, and shouted. After 2 hours, Odogwu stood up and said, "Thank you, ma. Please, don't disturb my destiny again." But when his mother started crying consistently, real crying, not the emotional type, something changed in him. One morning, she knocked on his bed, sat on his bed, held his hands and whispered, "My son, am I going to die without seeing your wife?" That question struck him hard. That afternoon, without thinking too deeply, Odogwu stood up in the middle of the sitting room and announced, "Okay, I will marry." The house shook with excitement. His mother screamed, his sister danced like she just won $1 million, even the maids hugged each other. But little did they know, they were not ready for the kind of wife Odogwu had in mind. When Odogwu announced he was finally ready to marry, the entire family entered celebration mode. His mother immediately brought out her special occasion wrapper, the one she kept for weddings, child dedications, and high-class events. Nkiru started calling caterers, makeup artists, and photographers. In her mind, the wedding planning had already started. Even the family group chat became active for the first time in years. Everyone dropping pictures of potential wives like they were submitting CVs. But Odogwu had other plans. 2 days after the announcement, he packed his small travel bag. No warning, no explanation. Early in the morning before the household woke up, he entered one of his SUVs and told his driver, "We are going to the village." The driver blinked. "Sir, your family? Move." And just like that, the journey began. As the car left the city behind and long, dusty roads replaced smooth tar, Odogwu felt something unusual: peace. The kind he hadn't felt in years. He watched tall trees, heard birds sing, and inhaled the fresh village air as if he had been starving for it. When he arrived at his father's compound, the entire village erupted with joy. Children ran after his car, shouting, "Odogwu, Odogwu!" Women rushed out to see him. Men came forward to greet him with respect. But Odogwu wasn't there for greetings. He was there for one reason. The elders gathered under the mango tree expecting him to announce a development project or donate money. But he shocked them when he said, "I came to choose a wife." The birds stopped singing. "What did you say?" one of the elders asked. "I came to marry." The old men looked at each other in confusion. Since when did a man with all the riches in the world need a village wife? But they kept quiet. Who were they to argue with destiny? Odogwu stayed in the village for 3 days, visiting families quietly, observing daughters without their knowledge. He wanted a real woman, untouched by pretense, unaffected by city packaging. It was on the 3rd day near the village stream that he found her. She was washing clothes, laughing loudly with 2 other girls, the kind of laughter that came from the heart. Her wrapper was tied carelessly, her natural hair packed in a simple puff. No makeup, no fancy nails, just pure, raw beauty. Her name was Ugonnaya. But Odogwu didn't approach immediately. He watched her from a distance as she hummed a song, as she helped a younger girl lift a bucket, as she splashed water on her friends and ran like a child. There was something real about her, something unpolished yet precious, something untouched by the world he lived in. The moment she looked up and their eyes met, she smiled, a shy, innocent smile that melted something inside him. That evening, he visited her father's house. The man was shocked. He had never expected the city's golden son to step into his humble compound. "I want your daughter's hand in marriage." The father dropped his cup. "Which of them?" "Ugonnaya." The mother screamed louder than a generator. The neighbors gathered. Children danced. Young girls peeped from the windows, heartbroken that this opportunity didn't fall to them. But the biggest shock came to the city. When Odogwu returned home, he came with a wife. Not the type they expected. When the security guards saw her stepping out of the SUV with her wrapper, slippers, and village swag, they almost asked her for gate pass. His mother nearly fainted. His sister thought she was dreaming. And his friends, they stared with open mouths, asking themselves, "Is this a prank?" But Odogwu smiled with pride. "This is my wife." And that was only the beginning of the storm he was bringing home.
From the very first morning in the mansion, it became clear that Ugonnaya was not the wife people expected, or the one they were prepared for. The household woke up to a strange sound. Bok 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 bok. The maids rushed to the kitchen thinking something had fallen. What they saw nearly made them drop the tray in their hands. Ugonnaya had gathered firewood inside the modern kitchen, lit it, and was sitting on a low stool blowing the flames like a proper village woman. The fire alarm screamed, smoke filled the air. One of the maids shouted, "Madam, gas is over there." But Ugo replied, "This one is better. Gas will explode somebody." By the time Odogwu came downstairs coughing, eyes red, he screamed, "Ugo, what is this?" Without looking up, she said calmly, "I am cooking rice for my husband." Fire service even arrived. Odogwu wanted the ground to open and swallow him. That was only day 1. On day 4, Ugonnaya followed him to a supermarket. She held her wrapper with one hand because she was not used to escalators. Inside the store, a lady touched Odogwu's shoulder and said, "Excuse me, aren't you Odogwu the real estate tycoon?" Before Odogwu could answer, Ugun dragged the lady's hand and snapped, "Leave my husband alone. Go and look your own man." The lady stared in shock. People began recording with their phones. Odogwu almost ran out of the store. Whenever Ugun tried to speak English, confusion followed. A neighbor asked her, "Madam, how is married life?" She smiled proudly and replied, "Marriage is hungering me." Another time, when a guest said, "You look beautiful," she answered, "Sorry." One day she asked Odogwu, "Baby, can we go to the shopping forest?" "You mean mall," he corrected. "Yes, mall, that thing." Odogwu was tired. His mother was embarrassed. His sister and Kiru started avoiding visitors because she didn't want them to meet her village in-law. During a family dinner, Ugon used her hand to eat jollof rice even though cutlery was beside her. When Nkiru tried correcting her gently, Ugon said, "Chop with hand, chop with spoon. Does it not enter the stomach?" Odogwu nearly choked on his water. His ex-girlfriends flooded social media with indirect posts. "Some men don't know their what. How can Odogwu marry a bush girl? We dodged a big bullet." People mocked her accent, her dressing, even the way she walked. But Odogwu stood beside her like a rock. Whenever someone insulted her, he replied, "She is my wife. Respect her." People couldn't understand it. Why was a man who had everything, class, money, beauty, fame, defending a woman who didn't fit into his world? But what they didn't know was this. Behind all the chaos and confusion, behind the broken English and village mannerisms, behind the firewood and public fights, there was a secret. A secret that only Odogwu knew. A secret that would shock everyone. The real turning point came one quiet Sunday afternoon. The whole family gathered in the mansion's living room. It wasn't planned. Everyone just drifted in, one after the other, drawn by tension in the air. Ugon sat in the middle of the room on a small stool instead of the couch, her hands folded on her lap, innocent as ever. His mother's face looked stressed. Nkiru paced up and down. Two aunties sat at the edge of their seats, whispering, "We need to talk sense into this boy today." Odogwu stood in front of them all, unusually serious. He cleared his throat. "I want to say something," he began. His mother immediately raised her hand like she was in a classroom. "My son, before you talk, please, we beg you. Let us take this girl back to the village. She is not ready for city life. She's embarrassing you. She nearly burned down the kitchen." "Let him talk first," Nkiru slapped. The aunties nodded in agreement, their wrappers already tied tightly around their waists, ready for emotional battle. Odogwu took a deep breath and said, "You people think I made a mistake by marrying her, but you don't know the full story." Silence dropped like a heavy stone. He continued, 5 years ago, I came to the village for land matters. After the meeting, I went to the stream to relax. I slipped and fell into the water." Everyone leaned forward. "I can swim, yes, but that day my foot hit a stone. I lost balance. The current dragged me. I remember shouting, trying to grab anything, but there was no one around." He swallowed hard, voice shaking slightly. I was drowning. The room went still. But one person heard me, he said softly, a young woman washing clothes nearby. He turned and looked at Ugon. She jumped in immediately, no hesitation, no fear. She grabbed me, held my head above the water, and dragged me towards the bank. Gasps floated around the room. Odogwu said, she saved my life. He paused to let the words settle. And do you know what shocked me the most? They waited. She didn't know who I was. She didn't ask for money. She didn't ask for anything at all. She simply said, thank God you're alive, picked up a bucket and left. His mother covered her mouth and was trembling. That day, Odogwu said, I told myself something. The woman who will be my wife is the woman who loved me before my money, not after. He turned fully to Ugon. So when the pressure to marry became too much, I went back to look for her. And when I found her still humble, still pure-hearted, I knew my spirit had chosen. A tear ran down Ugon's cheek. But Nkiru said softly, why didn't you tell us? Because you would have judged her before knowing her, he replied. Nobody argued. Then he added with a small smile, and I have another surprise. He gently nudged Ugon. She stood up nervously, cleared her throat and said slowly, but in clear English, Good afternoon, everyone. I am learning. I want to be better for my husband and for this family. Everyone froze. Nkiru gasped. The aunties clapped their hands. His mother burst into tears again. You speak English, she cried. Ugon nodded shyly. I have been taking lessons. I wanted to surprise you all. Odogwu wrapped his arm around her proudly. That's my wife. Months passed and Ugon transformed. She learned English, learned to use the gas cooker, and even learned how to dress like a city woman without losing her village boldness. One day, a woman flirted with Odogwu in a restaurant, touching his arm and giggling. Before he could speak, Ugon stepped forward confidently and said, excuse me, madam, this is my Odogwu, shift. Odogwu nearly fell off his chair laughing. The room erupted. And that was how the village girl became the queen of the man every woman wanted, the only woman who saw him as a human first before a hero. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps me bring more amazing stories your way. See you in the next one.